moreover, efforts are on to develop a cure for coronavirus, which has so far infected over 10 million people and has claimed the lives of over 500,000 lives. Even as many countries are continuing to ease lockdown restrictions, the threat of a second wave is now looming large. Signs of this are now showing up in the United States itself, where many of those states have been forced to reimpose the virus restrictions after a resurgence in the cases have been reported. Republic TV has been bringing you expert voices and opinions on how to deal with the coronavirus and the situation as of now, as it is looking like. Joining us today is infectious diseases specialist Dr. Ravi Durvasula, who is joining us from Chicago. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us here on Republic. And we want your expert opinion because the grim reality of the novel coronavirus continues to batter the United States, even with a new record of over 44,000 cases that were reported just on Saturday. That was being said as the second day in a row that new cases have gone beyond the 40,000 mark. How do you see the current situation?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this. I appreciate it. It's I would say one thing. It's probably still the first wave. The idea of a second wave is not fully accepted yet because we are, probably dealing with the effects of initial rounds of infection. And what's happening now is that many of the states, especially in the south of the United States and the west, and the three that are particularly affected are Florida, Texas, and California, the three most populous states. Certainly Arizona as well is badly affected. And we're seeing a significant increase in the number of cases in the last few days. And Texas, for example, has had to back down on some of the loosening up that they did. And so it is definitely still a situation that's quite tense. Have to watch it closely. And by no means is this country in the United States out of the woods on this.
Dr. Coronavirus cases in the United States have already surpassed the 2 million mark and have risen by double-digit percentage in almost 16 of the states in the United States. But many of those states have also loosening those restrictions since Memorial Day. But ever since those relaxations that have been announced, the spike continues. How do you read into that?
Right. Well, I think this is definitely, these are related events. States that loosened up the restrictions, or in some cases, didn't actually have many restrictions, are seeing spikes. The same can be said in with some of the experiences around the world. South Korea had something similar to this, and even parts of Europe, they're talking about it. China had a recent small spike in Beijing. So clearly, that's why I say that we are in the first wave. It hasn't gone away. We're nowhere near herd immunity. Vaccines are still on the horizon. And so without social distancing, without the use of masks, and paying very close attention to hand hygiene and the environmental hygiene, we are very much in the middle of this pandemic. It is not letting up, and I don't think anyone should be deluded to think that that it's letting up.
Because I want you, Doctor, to give us more input onto the second wave, because there have been differences in the opinion. Are we already seeing it, or will we eventually see it? Because we're looking, as you mentioned, China, in Beijing, certain lockdown restrictions that have been put in place, and South Korea as well. A second wave of the virus is being said that is inevitable. Can we only look at that, what other seasonal coronaviruses or seasonal influenzas do? Probably by the end of this year, we could look at another second wave happening?
Yes. So what you just mentioned is probably the worst case scenario. And that is, as we head toward late fall and winter, which is traditionally the influenza season in the United States, much of the West, and also other respiratory viruses, the worst thing that we could see would be a confluence of two epidemics. So potentially, if coronavirus spikes and resurges into the fall and winter, and it correlates with influenza or there are many other respiratory viruses that come out in the winter, that would be a very taxing situation for the healthcare system. Certainly, ICU beds and respiratory care units. So that is a big concern. But as I said, I think the thing to remember, though, is that we are probably, at least in the U.S., still very much in that initial wave. And what we're seeing are surges in states that are catching up to what had happened in the Northeast, in New York, New Jersey, and some of those places about a month and a half ago.
I want you to compare when it comes to Asia, Europe, and with the United States, because Europe already is preparing to reopen to foreign travelers. It is opening its borders. But when it comes to travelers coming in from the United States, most of them are the countries which do not want travelers coming in from the United States to come in their country and to have another surge of the infections. How do you read into this? Because several states have also reported in the United States a disturbing trend that will complicate, locating the source of an outbreak.
Right. Well, the issue with the European Union, and this is something where, we're seeing, in a way, the tables being turned. The United States had imposed restrictions, as you know, on people coming from overseas for quite a while. And now the U.S. is having this continued epidemic, and cases are surging. And so there's a push to now restrict U.S. travel back into Europe. And, I think that whether this is Europe to U.S., U.S. to Europe, et cetera, as long as this virus continues to spread, and as long as we are, still, I'd say, far away from the concept of herd immunity and mass immunity, I think, this is a major concern. And certainly the border, for example, between the United States and Canada, which is one of the biggest borders, as you know, in the world, is closed. It remains closed. So I think the idea of travel during this time is going to be severely restricted. I can fully understand why. And the idea is to try to minimize as much as possible external imports, if you will, of the cases. As South Korea was reporting that some of the recent cases were actually coming in from the outside. So this is something that, countries have to do this.
Doctor, I want you to talk about the treatment now, because vaccine could take up to next 12 to 18 months. That would be a game changer. But some observers are also saying that even that timeline is wildly optimistic. And on the current treatment path, when it comes to certain medications, hydroxychloroquine, India has been providing those drugs, especially to the United States, the effects of remdesivir, and also how India is using plasma therapy for those patients who are suffering from mild to a bit of a severe symptoms.
Right. Well, let me comment first on the drug options. So you mentioned hydroxychloroquine. This has been the subject of a lot of studies and a lot of controversy, as you know. And so far, there is not compelling evidence that hydroxychloroquine is effective against the SARS-CoV-2 virus. And, in the US right now, we're not widely using hydroxychloroquine. So the data at this point still does not support routine use of that drug. Remdesivir, which is a drug that remdesivir, which is a drug that is useful in patients who are hospitalized in the intensive care unit, may reduce mortality by a few percentage points. So it has some promise. Dexamethasone, which has been studied now a little more in the UK, is showing promise to reduce mortality maybe by about 30%. But please keep in mind that the data have not been peer reviewed and fully vetted in the scientific and medical community. So these are still early comments, and I think it's premature to jump at it and say that this is a great breakthrough. But what's missing right now is the drug that one can take, a pill that one can take early in the course of symptoms. So, for example, with influenza, we have Tamiflu, which can be given early to try to reduce the progression of the disease. Unfortunately, we don't have that yet for the coronavirus, the current coronavirus, and it may still be a while in the making.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Ravi Durvasula joining us here. He is an infectious diseases expert from Loyola Medicine, joining us from Chicago. That was a very in-depth analysis, and especially the situation looking like as of now in the United States, and possible measures that are also being taken by the government there. And on and off, we have seen that disagreements that have also been reached between the states and the federal structure there. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us here on Republic Broadcast. Good night, sir.
Thank you very much. Good night.